existentialism and absurdism. And I don't know, do you guys know anything about nihilism? The less clearly we see the reality of the world, the more our minds are just confused by just different falsehoods or misperceptions and things. So this is how I view it, is that our view of reality is like a map, which is true and accurate.
I don't think I've ever met someone who more people have said to me after like hanging out with you, who was that? Or like, that girl was so awesome.
And I actually worked at Oakcrest, which is a church camp for teenage girls. I don't really spend a whole lot of time thinking about life after death. You know, I like the idea of being incarnated into something else. Or, you know, there's another idea that is, you can cut this out, but there's another idea that
oh my gosh, I love that. That's crazy, but I love these conversations because I love just like my mind to be boggled. Like,
maybe I shouldn't tell this embarrassing story, but
do it.
Tell it.
Me and my husband were babysitting Aaron's cousins' children who are teenagers.
Welcome to another episode of That's Church. Today, we're excited to dive into an inspiring conversation with Cheryl Stout. Cheryl is a former member of the LDS Church who has embarked on a journey of self-discovery, exploring diverse philosophies, and uncovering her own inner power. With a deep passion for connection and spiritual growth, Cheryl opens up about her spiritual journey, the philosophies of existentialism and absurdism, and what it means to create purpose and meaning in an ever-changing world. This is a conversation filled with wisdom, authenticity, and empowerment. So settle in and get ready to be inspired.
Alan Watts's perspective on God and religion was more complex and was critical of the organized religion and the traditional thoughts of God. But he also believed in like a higher power or spiritual reality. But he saw God as the ground of all being, the source of all life and consciousness. He also believed that God was not a separate entity, but rather a presence in all things. So he often used the metaphor of like the ocean to describe God, saying that God is like the ocean and we are like the waves, and we are all part of God and God is part of us. So even though he was critical of organized religion, because it's kind of dogmatic and authoritarian and divisive, it's not about like following rules and beliefs, but experiencing divine directly. So I think he encouraged people and me specifically, where I started to find my own way to God. So that's how I view things in that way. But I also learned about the philosophy existentialism and absurdism. And I don't know, do you guys know anything about nihilism or any of those things?
No, tell
I
us.
think Tara brought up nihilism though in our interview. Yeah, and I've been meaning to research it, so share with us.
Yeah, so basically nihilism is every human experiences questions about the meaning and purpose of life, which I believe that's where I think a lot of religion has come from, because people have to have this belief because life lacks inherent meaning and it suggests that like traditional beliefs are baseless without objective truth. So it often can lead to like existential despair. Like a lot of people who are like suicidal. So like me as a teenager, I was actually suicidal. Actually did try to kill myself. I don't know, I'm laughing. I think I'm just uncomfortable with that thought because I had nihilistic thoughts. And so I was literally trying to find this purpose and meaning in life, which I did find through God as a teenager. And I found purpose in God being there for me at that time. And that helped me through the nihilistic thoughts. But basically, existentialism and absurdism are beliefs that help combat those nihilistic thoughts, which are those meaningless, what is life, what is my purpose, all of this natural human questioning, basically. So existentialism and absurdism are very, very similar. So it's kind of hard to explain the difference between the two.
Nihilism? Is that what it is?
Yeah.
So is it saying that there doesn't need to be purpose? Is that
No, that's kind of it's the thought process, it's the belief that life lacks like meaning or value.
Oh, okay.
So like having nihilistic thoughts is like life doesn't mean anything. Life, it doesn't matter. And now I'm having some like existential despair and dread, knowing that life doesn't matter and there is no purpose.
Gotcha.
And so that's a scary and sad thought to have, especially for, a teenager who's experiencing all this, stuff. And I'm sure anybody experiencing that is. But yeah, so nihilism is the belief that there is no meaning and it kind of leads to that despair where like existentialism is like, it emphasizes like your individual existence, freedom and choice. It explores like the nature of human existence and our struggle as humans to like find meaning in like a seemingly indifferent or like absurd world, basically.
Interesting.
So existentialists don't necessarily have meaning. Rather, like meaning is something that we must create for ourselves through choices and actions. It encourages like people to confront the realities of existence, including the inevitability of death and just the absurdity that we exist in the world, and to find purpose and significance in spite of all of that. So it places a strong emphasis on like human freedom and individual responsibility, and that we are free to make our choices and our own values, but it also comes with the burden of responsibility to have consequences for your choices. So it's literally just seeing things as they are, reality itself. Existentialists believe there is some sort of meaning and you create your meaning, you create your purpose. Absurdism kind of goes a step further to confront the absurdity just of life. And even if you don't have a purpose, like I always view it like the trees and the flowers and the water, the ocean, everything just exists, and it's just crazy and absurd if you think about it. Like, and they don't really have a meaning. Like, I guess they serve a purpose in their own way, but they don't need to know that they serve that purpose. You know what I mean? So it's just we exist because we exist, and that's the absurd of it. And so there is a like metaphor or story of a guy named Sisyphus who was forced to push this rock up a hill, and he just keeps pushing this rock up the hill, and near the top of the hill the rock just rolls back down the hill. Oh, no. And he just goes back down the hill and he pushes the rock back up the hill and just keeps doing that over and over again and over again, and people wonder like, what was the purpose of that? Well, there is no purpose. It's that is the purpose of life, is just we just live life, and that's what we do, and we accept that's life, and then we create meaning by finding joy and meaning throughout that.
I wanted to mention when you brought up responsibility, like personal responsibility, I wish that was more widely accepted or embraced, I guess, because Emmy and I were just having a conversation this week about how a lot of people within Christianity feel like, why do we need to take care of the world when Jesus is coming? Like the second coming is going to happen. So like, why do we need to take care of the world? And it kind of just blows my mind, like that, it's just one of those things that feels very non-Christian. Why not take care of the world just in case? And whether you believe in the second coming or not, no one knows when it would happen. So it just seems like a no-brainer. Let's take care of what's here. It's our responsibility as stewards of this earth to take care of it. And I love that you said that personal responsibility, because I also think sometimes people assume that those who are not a part of a religion don't care about anything. Like, oh, they just, like, what do they care about? They're selfish. They're, like, they have nothing to live for. No, they do. And they really care. And I love that you said that you said, they care in a different way because they're taking personal responsibility over the things that they care about.
Right.
Does that make sense?
Yeah, totally. Yeah. I think a lot of times, like, people who believe in God, it provides this meaning and this purpose and structure in people's lives, which a lot of people need, that peace and that sense of like stability. And I think for me, I felt like it was a freeing choice for me to let go of the concept of an outside, like, entity kind of, or divine power or being controlling me, not controlling me, but like guiding me even. Like, I felt my inside, like I said, like, God is the ocean and we are the waves. I am the creator of my own life, and whether there is a God or not, which I don't know, I am going to create my life and listen to my inner thoughts and my inner feelings about what I need personally, and then guide my path in that way. So I think it can be a really liberating experience. Like, it was a liberating experience for me to let go of God in the traditional term, because it did allow me to reclaim that agency over my life and define my own values and goals, and in the face of an uncertain and inherently meaningless world. Like, it helps me navigate through the, like, existential journey, like, just with more authenticity and a sense of, like, personal empowerment. I just felt like way more powerful than I ever did when I was part of organized religion. I felt like that just kind of held me back, and there were obviously good things about the organized religion, which is like the community and the people, but I've connected more with people who, who understand me, like you guys understand me and, like, what I believe in, and accept me for who I am, even though I don't necessarily believe in, like, a higher power or anything like that. Like, surrounding myself with people who love and accept me and know that my values, like, are not based off of, like, belief in God, and that I'm still a good person. And I'm probably a better person now because I was filled with so much guilt and shame and all of the things that organized religion sometimes can give. I don't know.
Yeah.
And I think you probably connect with more people than anyone I've ever met.
Yes.
You go out of your way to connect with people, and people are just instantly drawn to you. So,
Thanks.
so that's very true. You definitely are finding your people in a very big way. And I look at all the people you connect with, and I'm like, oh, that sounds exhausting. Although we connect with our guests, and it's amazing. And so I think there is something to be said about, I mean, I know connection is so important. And we just got home from a cruise to Mexico, and Ashley and our entire families, and I posted something on our Instagram that just said, we learned a lot of things. The number one thing was that family, friends, and connection are the most important. They're just, they're everything.
I loved that.
Yes.
So I totally agree.
Yeah. When we chatted with you last year, this is also interesting. I'm just learning about all of these different philosophies that I had no idea about from you and Tara, and I just didn't know that these ideas or beliefs existed. And it's so fascinating. And then last year you told us a little bit about, like, the power within yourself. And I think that's part of all of this. But can you kind of explain to us, how do you harness that power within yourself on a daily basis? And how has the shift impacted your outlook on life and spirituality?
I tap into my inner power by just recognizing the agency, the autonomy that I have within the chaos of life, basically. And the shift has impacted my outlook on life and reality, obviously. But rather than like seeking external validation or meaning from a divine source, I just focus on cultivating my own sense of purpose and fulfillment for me, what that means for me. So the inner power just empowers me to like navigate life's challenges with like resilience and adaptability, because nothing is set in stone. Everything is always constantly changing. So you have to be adaptable to that, knowing that my existence is significant in its own right, regardless of any external validation that I will be getting from anybody, from God, from anybody outside of me. That existence in myself has helped me just to be resilient and adaptable, I guess. So
I love the word adaptable. I really think that also, like, what a perfect word for any spirituality. And I think too, like you said, everything is subject to change. I'm a Libra, so I love everybody, literally. But I will say the people I have the hardest time with are people who are not willing to adapt, or just not willing to like open their mind up to new thoughts. Not even that they have to embrace them or accept them, but just the people that are just not even willing to hear others out. And so I love that word, adaptability. How has that been on your spiritual journey? Like, did it take you a while to adapt? Because I know in my own like faith deconstruction, it's taken like, I was thinking about it, it's taken like 3 years. Like, I really picture it being faster, but when I look back at it and where I started, I've changed so much and accepted so many different things, and it made me realize like it does take time. Did it take time for you, or did it happen pretty quickly?
oh yeah. No, it's always changing. That's the thing. I view truth, like everybody's always saying, what's the truth? Everything is what's this and this and this is the truth. And I'm like, truth for me is reality. Reality is whatever, like whatever's not real is false, basically. So like truth is reality. So the more clearly we see the reality of the world, the better equipped we are to deal with the world. So the less clearly we see the reality of the world, the more our minds are just confused by just different falsehoods or misperceptions and things. So like our view of reality is like a map. This is how I view it, is that our view of reality is like a map, which is like true and accurate. And we'll generally know where we are. We've decided where we want to go, and we'll generally know how to get there. But if the map of reality is not accurate, is false, we will generally feel lost. And I think that we are not born with the maps that we have. We make them throughout our life. And so I think the more effort that we make to appreciate the reality, the larger and more accurate our maps will be. So I think it takes time to adjust and to adapt into the map of reality, which is truth, which is what we're searching for in life, is that truth. So like many people don't want to make this effort to adapt and to grow and stop making their map, and they just make the view of their world narrow. And the process of making revisions is so painful. Like I didn't really talk about the painful, realizations that I've had, and the growth and the like change that I've really had to open my mind so much, because I was literally revising my world map. But my world map now feels more true to me than it ever has, because I'm constantly keeping my mind open and able to adapt.
Well,
It's a painful and scary process, and it's overwhelming. And then when what happens when you've worked so hard to develop a working view of the world, and then you're confronted with a new information suggesting that your past view was wrong, and then your whole map needs to be redrawn. It's so painful, and it's so scary and so overwhelming, and so many people just choose to ignore the information, or unconsciously or consciously, really. But I think it's just a way to survive in this world, and it's so hard to literally change your mind. Like I feel like, and so many people say, once you see something, you can't unsee it,
Mm.
you know? And that's how I felt. And that's how I've continued to live my life. So like I'm continually going to continue to grow. And I don't claim to know everything at all, but I do promise to keep my mind open and to keep growing and to keep changing the way that I view things, or expanding my consciousness and my thoughts on just life and God and everything. So I hope
Yes.
that
Oh,
doesn't
you got me
make me
teary over
confusing.
here. Dang it.
Oh.
You know, he's tell when I hide behind the mic. But it
Aw.
was, I think I just never, I love that analogy of the map. Like, you spend
Mhm.
so much time drawing out a map, and then you have to just wipe it away and start again. Like, that is it. Like, that is the deconstruction process. And it just really hit me. I don't know why I'm so emotional about it, but it really does feel like that. Like, so much work and effort, and then you have to start again. I
Mhm.
don't know. That really hit me. I'm so glad you said that, because that,
Mm.
woo, I really, and again, like these things, you think that you're completely healed of different things, but it does bring up past memories of the
Mhm.
pain and the hurt that comes with it. And luckily, I'm in a much better place now than I was then. But you know, it comes like redrawing a map comes with a lot of pain. And I always use the phrase of like moral compass, which I just feel like the map and the moral compass, they go so hand in hand. You got to write a book about this.
And the thing is that it is hard, but you also use, I guess, in the analogy of the map, I suppose, like you use that map still, like it served a purpose for you. And so that map was not, even though my map from when I was 12 or 8 or however, like 20 even, that map served my purpose. Like that map was there to help guide me to where I am now, you know?
Mhm.
So even though that map is irrelevant now and everything on the map now has changed and all of the things have been taken away, but like it still served its purpose and I'm still thankful for it. And I'm still thankful that I had the experiences that I had, because I wouldn't be who I am without having experienced what I had before. And so I totally get the pain and the heartache that comes with the deconstruction process of it all
Mhm.
too. It's just it is it's just something that you have to have gratitude for, that you've had a map, you've had the map that you knew that you thought was best, and then you were given new information, and now your map is just getting more and more refined, and you're getting better at finding your way and figuring out what is important to you.
Mm.
So I think that's kind of how I view it. And I feel like my moral compass now has been refined because of all of that.
Yeah, for sure.
While you were talking, I was taking notes because I had a few things that came to my mind as well. And this is kind of going back to like the inner power that you have. And I think that's so beautiful, that you feel that power, because I think we all have, whether you believe in God or destiny, or you're choosing your own path, or creating your own purpose. I think we all have power within us. And I think a lot of us are nervous to tap into that because we think we have to be too humble, or we have to give all credit to God, or,
Mhm.
but whether you, like I said, whether you believe in God or not, you still have a power within you.
Mhm.
And my daughter and I just watched the movie Wish, and I hadn't seen it in a long time. And it was like a couple days ago. At the end of the movie, she says, "Oh, we're all stars." And it shows everybody realizing that they have power within themselves. And then all of a sudden they all their chests light up like stars, and they gain that power that was in them all along, but they just didn't know it. And so they were all able to combat the bad guy, and he lost his power because they were able to find their own. And anyway, there's just something so beautiful in finding that, every individual person has that already. From the time you're born, you have that power within you, no matter what you believe. And so I think
Right.
sometimes it's just finding the confidence to harness that,
Mhm.
and being okay and knowing that you're not going to diminish another person, like just you empowering yourself and using the power that's within you does not belittle anybody else unless you belittle someone else.
Right. It just, well, it just enhances your love for yourself. It just radiates out into to others because you're not competing with anybody. Everybody has their own sense of themselves. It's not a judgment. It's basically love. Your self-love really does radiate out to other people, and they can feel that and feel empowered by you feeling empowered. I think, I don't know.
And you're the perfect example of that. Like Emmy said, I don't think I've ever met someone who more people have said to me after like hanging out with you, like, who was that? Or like, like that girl was so awesome. I'm talking about like in a big party. Obviously, if it's a small gathering, they would have known you. You would have talked to them more. But you know what I'm saying? They're like, wow, that girl, she was awesome. She was so kind. There really is something about your energy where people feel like they can be themselves right away, free of judgment. And I just feel like that is something that is so unique to you and so special about you. And you're right. Like the map you drew helped you become that person. You know, I mean, we've known Cheryl for years. She's one of our brother's best friends.
And
but
now ours.
I am so glad that now we know you even better. Now Emmy and I consider you our best friends. Yeah, take that, Aaron. and I'm just
he was
so
her
glad
best friend
because
since like elementary, right? So
yeah.
That's anyways, we've known you forever. Yeah.
For sure.
Sorry,
and I'm just so grateful though to know you, to be even closer to you now, and you do radiate that light. So
Thanks.
So you were talking about accepting people, and we talk about this a lot, Ashley and I, because I think it's so important, and it's part of this podcast. Like inclusion is such a big part of this, but and opening our minds as well. Like I think that is so important, to open your minds to different possibilities and different ways of thinking. And I was so proud of my son the other day on the ship. We were in on our cruise to Mexico, and he said, I hate when people feel like they can't just be themselves around me. And I just want them to know that I accept them however they are and however they come. And he said, and this is a teenage example, but he's like, I know sometimes people are afraid to swear around me, or if they drink, they're afraid to drink around me. And he's like, I really want them to just be who they are. And I was so proud of him in that moment. You know, I thought, I'm so glad that. Yeah,
that's so sweet.
Cutting onions over here. Why?
He's a 16-year-old boy, you know, and so I feel like that's a really early age to realize that. And I wish that I had come to that conclusion earlier on in my life, because I think, especially within our culture and, you know, some other religious cultures, that's not how it is, you know. I think he came to that conclusion on his own, and
with the help of you,
maybe
he does have some examples.
This is a huge part of who you are too as a parent, I think.
Yeah, maybe he sees that in us, and I hope so. I hope we have a little part of that. I feel like he's so much like me. I look at him and I always say, like, he is exactly who I was, but so much better. and I'm so glad that I learned the things that I learned growing up so that I could help him become that better. You know, it's just so rewarding to see our kids, you know, to get concepts and become good people, and it's so fun.
Well, and a lot of adults have a hard time with that. So for him to
100%.
recognize that at such a young age is huge, because there are grown adults that have the hardest time just like accepting people where they're at. And I do think it's cultural. I think it can happen within religions too. And it's just unfortunate, because all it does is create wedges between people.
I think it's a lot. I think it's a human thing, even just naturally, we reject what we don't know. And I think, or what we're fearful of, people just are afraid of what they don't know, or different, or are different.
Yes.
I think that's where bullying stems from, probably. Yes. And I know some adults that are bullies, you know? So, yeah, very true. So, in moving away from traditional beliefs, how have you navigated challenges or skepticism from others?
Well, thankfully, I've surrounded myself with people who accept me for who I am. And I realize that not everybody is for me, and I may not resonate with other people. Like, part of my journey was energy. I'm not as much into energy work as much anymore, but I do believe in energy, and energy is real. And so I think my energy will resonate with certain people, and my energy will not resonate with certain people. And just knowing that I don't need anyone's approval or acceptance. Even it is nice to be accepted, and it is nice for people to love me for who I am and all of that, but I don't necessarily need it. If I live my life the way that I want to live it and am doing what brings me joy and happiness and peace, then nothing else matters. And so people who question me, but nobody really does. Nobody argues with me, because I don't argue with them, because I understand everybody is on their own individual journey and path. And I am not going to argue or tell somebody that they're wrong, because I'm not right and they're not right. Everybody has their experience. It's just your own experience, and your own experience is true for you, every single individual. So, like, I've never really had to really face a whole lot of skepticism or, argue with people about what I believe or don't believe, because what they believe is true for them and what I believe is true for me. And we can't argue our own truths, what bring us peace. And if God brings them peace, or if no God brings them peace, like, great, as long as you feel happy with where you're at. So I mean, the hardest part is with family. So when I told my mom specifically that I was leaving the LDS Church, she and I had a long conversation, but she knows who I am, and she knows how she raised me. And I think a part of her was like, well, what did I do wrong? What did I, and she kind of put blame on herself. And I said, Mom, it's what you did right. Like, you taught me to think, and you taught me to be true to who I am. And this is true to who I am right now. So, like, we may not share the same religious beliefs, but we are cut from the same cloth, and you taught me how to be this way, and it's not a mistake, and it's not bad that I have chosen a different path or a different way of living, because she actually did a good job by teaching me to think for myself and be independent, and open my thoughts and my brain. And then we talked through it, and everything was fine, and she accepts me, and I accept her, and we love each other, and it's but yeah, I think navigating the family dynamics of it all was the hardest, I think. But I think now people can see how much happier and more to myself than I ever was before, where I was trying and striving for outside, expectations. I'm actually inward. I'm trying to fulfill my inward expectations for myself and being more authentic and genuine for who I am now. So I think anybody can say, 10 years ago, Cheryl was a good person, but now I'm really trying to be more genuine now. So I think it's hard to argue that. It's hard to argue when somebody's becoming a better person and trying to become a better person, I guess.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, that is, again, it just goes to your character, because you mentioned before that you surround yourself with people who, accept you, and I feel honored to be one of those people. I can speak for Emmy too, but we also feel so accepted by you. And I've never felt any judgment from you, or, I do think that when people leave a religion, there is hurt and pain there, and people are going to express it in different ways, and they're going to, get angry. There's all the different stages of grief. And I went through it too, just in my deconstruction process. But you've always just been so kind and loving, just again, like a beacon of light. So I'm not surprised that your family, embraced that, because they hopefully know who you are, like we do, and know like that at your core, you're the same loving, happy, kind Cheryl that they knew. And I'm so glad that they saw that. I wanted to share quickly I read a post last week. I can't remember who wrote it right now, but it was talking about, it used the metaphor of religion being like a ship. And they said that some people on the ship are loving it. They're seeing wildlife. They're looking at the sunset. They're cruising along the waves. And then there are other people who are literally just vomiting over the edge, like so seasick. And they're so sick they can't even enjoy anything around them. And so for them, it's better for them to stay on land and enjoy the view from there, enjoy the sunset, see the wildlife from there. So it really is like, it does come down to a perspective thing. And I think that a lot of people struggle because for them, it's great. They're loving it and they can't imagine anyone having a bad time, but they just don't see it through their perspective. So I do think that it's important to remember that we're all different and we're all going to worship and not even that we're all just going to live life and find our beliefs and values and find our precious things where we, from each individual perspective.
Yeah, I love that. Yes, absolutely.
And
Amen.
We got treasure maps. We got pirate ships. We got
it's a whole theme.
It's a theme.
Pirate
Write
theme.
a book.
That's going to be the intro. Pirate. I don't know.
Pirate Cheryl.
Pirate
Done.
Matey.
We could do better. I'm sorry.
Let's find a better one. I was just going to tag on to, I'm always late in what I'm saying, but I was just going to say, I've also always, not only do we feel accepted by you and feel like you accept us, I've never even felt like, ooh, we probably shouldn't talk about that around Cheryl. You just feel 100% accepting of who we are, no matter what. And that's a very unique thing. And I hope to be that way. And that's a big part of this.
Both of you are that way. I don't surround myself with people who aren't.
So sweet. That's a huge compliment.
It's true. I truly, yes. I could say the exact same thing that I feel like I can say. That's why I always get a little nervous about talking about where I am spiritually on my journey, because not a whole lot of people understand. And so I get a little nervous, but when you guys asked me to do this, I was like, yeah, you guys really do give off a genuine air of just wanting to understand other perspectives, which I think is huge. And I think what you're doing is huge for not just yourselves and your own personal journey, but just everybody being able to listen to so many different perspectives and life experiences and beliefs and taking what you can from everybody that you interview is just like, you guys are becoming more well-rounded and more understanding, loving people because of it. So I think it's just cool. I think it's amazing.
Greatest compliment ever. And again, I'm teary.
Ashley's crying over here.
That is so sweet of you. I will say we've opened up our minds so much more than I even thought would happen with this process.
I was going through our Instagram today and just being like, wow, there's so many really different beliefs on here, like just all of our reels. And it's really cool. We talked to Cheryl a while ago in San Diego. We all went on a little trip last summer, right? We all went to San Diego, the three of us and one of our other friends, Akemi. And we chatted a little bit in just this cute little cafe. We talked to you and asked you a little bit about your spirituality and kind of where you're at in life. And it was so intriguing. And we were so excited to learn about it. So it's been in the works since then that we've wanted to have you on our podcast. So we're so grateful that you're here. Thank you so much.
Yeah, thanks for having me. I can't believe I'm even being asked to do that.
No, we're so pumped.
Yes.
Cheryl's the best, guys. We
I'm
talk to her
honored.
every single day. When you started saying that, Emmy, when you started saying, like, we talk to her on the trip, like, we talk to her every single day.
We do talk every
day.
day on Polo.
BFFs.
Since then, maybe. But you have such an intriguing life too. I feel like we could do like 50 episodes just about your life because you have so many amazing, crazy stories. But take us on your faith journey right now. Like, just start from the beginning and just kind of take us on your journey up to now. Just kind of encapsulated.
Okay. I grew up LDS, being in Utah. So my family was LDS. And then I actually worked at Oakcrest, which is a church camp for teenage girls in the Salt Lake Valley. I don't know if you would. Yeah, I did. I worked at Oakcrest.
I loved
remember that.
Oakcrest, and that was like my dream to be a counselor. That's
I remember
so fun.
I went there as a girl and I was like, I'm going to be a counselor one day. And I became one. I was deep in LDS culture and religion and believed everything and was completely 100% in my whole, I don't know, growing up since my childhood. And then I started questioning my belief in actually not just church, but in God in general. I read a book, this one, The Road Less Traveled. I read this book and it changed my whole life and perspective on so many different things that I then started questioning my religion and God and my beliefs. And it kind of got in, the book is more about like values and not necessarily religion, but about like philosophy and life and just different values that humans have. And I've always been, even growing up at LDS, I was always kind of a rebellious person. So like I would just like do what I wanted to do and then like ask for forgiveness later.
Love it.
Or, you know, but I still strongly believed in God and had such a faith that there was a higher power. And then my husband and I got married, and shortly after my daughter was born, who is now 7, almost 8, we kind of dove deep into the history of the church. But before that, it had been years of me kind of soul searching just values and philosophy in general. So I wasn't necessarily fully in at that point in church or religion generally. So about a year after my daughter was born, we started researching more and to church history. And then I realized that I felt that it was not true anymore. It didn't fit my life anymore. And the things that it taught didn't ring true anymore for me because of the growth that I experienced. I then kind of went into different types of philosophies or beliefs. So like I got really into Buddhism for a while, like mindfulness and all of that. And then I got into energy and energy work and all of that. But I still didn't think that God was a being. That was what I learned and grew up with, basically. So now my belief is all over the place. I have different philosophies and ways, but it's mostly a way of living. I live more on, I don't know if you guys know who Alan Watts is. He's
yes, love Alan Watts.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah, so he's
like
a philosopher.
Yeah, great.
That's how I live my life. It's through different philosophies. I love it. I think it's amazing, and I think it's so needed, especially just for people to, if they're in the space and they're open to understanding and learning new things. I think it's such a great place to be able to do that. And you guys create that safe place for people like me who are a little hesitant because we don't know everything.
You're amazing.
No,
so
you
much
are amazing.
knowledge, and yeah, it's amazing to learn from you.
Could you share an experience where your belief in yourself and your inner power profoundly influenced a decision or direction in your life? Or do you feel like you are inspired in that type of way?
Yeah, I think like prior to releasing belief in a higher power, and that like everything happens for a reason, everybody says that.
Mm-hmm.
I hadn't really tapped into that personal power I felt because I felt, everything happens for a reason or there's divine intervention or things like that. So,
Mm-hmm.
um, and I feel like these types of beliefs, and I'm not judging anybody who has them, but for me, they just seem to absolve people of accountability for their own lives. So, like attributing everything to a divine plan beyond our control or anything like that. So, I found it disempowering in a
Mm-hmm.
way because I realized the importance of taking charge of my own life. Like listening to my intuition and just making conscious choices that like align with my desires and my values, and trusting in myself and my own capabilities. Like it helped me basically go back to school because at first I was like, what am I going to do? And then I think more and more, and obviously my whole life, I mean, I'm 33, almost 34, so I'm not old, but I'm not young, and I wasn't able to find what I wanted to do, and I was still stuck on what should I do and what's my purpose. And I think going back to school was a huge jump for me to like get into my own personal power and realize that I have the capability and the ability to, you know, pursue what I want and desire. And so I finished my degree in 10 months, and I just was self-determined and I persevered and I finished because I knew that I could, and that's what I wanted to do. And so I think I had a very clear goal of what I wanted, and I didn't ask for permission. I didn't ask for anything like that. I just said, this sounds like something that I really want to do, and this is something that I feel called to do. So that's what I'm going to do. I've been thinking about it for however many long years that I've been thinking about going back to school and finishing my degree and doing all this stuff. But I never did because I don't know if I felt disempowered or what it was, but it just wasn't the right time, I guess. I don't know. I think I was, but
Interesting.
then finally I became into my own self and I was just like, I can do this. I'm going to do it, and I'm going to do it in 10 months. And that's what I did.
That's
So,
amazing.
yeah, so I just released the notion of like an external power, and now I take full responsibility for my life. If things don't go as planned, I I approach the situation just logically and find solutions based on my like own abilities and resources, I guess. And I don't feel the need to rely on like a prayer or external support since I trust more and more and more each day my own inner wisdom. So like whether you call it intuition or divine guidance, I think that every individual has their own inner knowing, and harnessing that power leads to positive outcomes, even if circumstances are different or deviate from like the original plan, if that makes sense.
You're a therapist, or what is your degree?
No.
You're not a therapist, but you have a degree in
Psychology, yeah.
psychology.
So I got my bachelor's in psychology, but I do plan on getting my master's at some point.
And then
Again,
do you want to
it's
become a
just,
therapist, or what is your goal after that?
yeah, I think so. I think that's the plan. I don't know. I keep changing. I'm like, should I do? And that's the other part, is that it's exciting for me to live life because I'm like, well, what do I want to do? There's so many different options and so many different
Mm-hmm.
things that I'm interested in and like to do. And I'm like, you just choose a path and you do it and then see where it takes you. And then if it doesn't work out, then you choose a different path and you take that path. And that's the whole purpose of life, is just embracing the act of living itself and making the mistakes or doing
Yeah.
things. I do want to finish and get a master's degree um, in social work. But timing does have to be right, and I do have to plan logically. Like that's literally all it is. It's
Yeah.
just planning and
Yeah. She's
applying
also
and
a kick-ass DJ, guys. Just
Oh,
saying, just putting it
yeah.
out there.
all right. That's right.
But it's clear
She's
that you
amazing.
understand human emotions and character and
Understanding each other is like the biggest piece of life, and connecting with each other is the biggest way you can live your life. I feel like it's
Yeah.
just by learning and connecting with everybody around you. Not everybody, but like
Yeah. No, I think sometimes too
connection.
we think that like you have to go to school to have it end up being this or that or like with this end goal, but there's so much wisdom and knowledge gained by just going, you know? Like we had
Right.
Patrick Mason on and he's a professor and I was like, how do I go to your class? Like, do I have to sneak in there? Because I would love to go and just learn
Just
again,
learn.
you know?
Yeah, totally.
I love that. I also I was just laughing to myself thinking of those quotes that we use, like everything happens for a reason, and you know when God closes a door, He opens a window, and I like those are all sweet. They're sweet and all, but I think there's a time and a place for them because sometimes I don't want that door to be shut, and I just want to like yell about that for a minute. Like I don't even want to look for a window that He opened because I'm still angry about the door being shut, or you know, like I think sometimes we use that to like also like push ourselves through the grieving process of like it's okay that your dad died, like he's in a better place, like well I just want to grieve, you know. I think that it's good to be mindful about, you know, like it's okay if those things help you personally. I think it's good to be mindful though of how we say those things to others. You know, just being a little more sensitive, I guess, around those
and aware,
topics.
like just being aware that not everybody thinks the same way that we do and
Yes,
believes.
exactly.
You can put these in your questions, but I'm just curious. So, do you believe in life after this life, or what are your beliefs there?
Ooh, toughie.
I don't really spend a whole lot of time thinking about life after death because I don't know. And I have a hard time. This is where I'm still learning and growing, I think, is that energy is real. And I feel like our energy has to go somewhere after we die, but maybe not. I don't know. And that's the best part, I think, about me. I think people want to know things so badly. They really want to know everything and want to have an answer for everything. And I don't know. And I don't really care to know because all I know right now is that I am alive and that I love the people in my life and that I'm going to enjoy like the time that I have with them. Like, and so I think just really embracing the present moment in my life, like with my kids and my family and my parents, like I don't know if I'm ever going to see them again when they pass or when I pass. And that's a sad and scary thought to have. But at the same time, it really has increased my capacity to enjoy the time that I have with them now and really appreciate where I'm at now with them because we just are not guaranteed any time. We're just not guaranteed any real answers. So I'm not going to spend my time trying to find the answer of if we live after we die. I'm going to just live now, right now. and just appreciate it now. So I don't know if that answers that question, but yeah, that's kind of where I'm at. And I think learning how to grieve when somebody does pass, I think learning how to grieve and get through that with the knowledge that I don't know and that I'm scared that I'll never see them again. Like they live on through my memory and that's how I keep them alive here now. So whether I'll see them again or not, I keep them alive in my brain and my memory by spending that quality time with them and loving them now as they exist.
So I've asked multiple people this that are atheists or that just maybe are hopeful. I've have friends that are hopeful atheists, like they hope that
like
there's a God
agnostic
maybe, or they hope that there's an afterlife, or whatever it is specifically. And if you don't want to answer this question, you don't have to, but for me, it's hard for me to wrap my mind around not believing there's a life after this, because I think I already feel like an urgency to do all the things I want to do in this life, because life is so great and there's like so many possibilities and so many things we can do. And I'm similar to you, like there's so many careers even that I would love to do, and I now have like two. I do a podcast and I'm a realtor, and I'd love to do more. Like I'm constantly like, ooh, I'd love to do that. I think that's partly my ADHD, but either way, like I think life is good, and there's so many things we can do in this life. But I feel like this sense of urgency, and I think if I didn't believe in a life after this life, I would have so much more anxiety in that urgency,
Paralyzing,
yeah,
like of fear, or not fear, but paralyzing.
Yeah, just anxiety and worry that I'm not going to fit it all in or get it all in or love enough, or, do you feel any sense of that, or no?
Yeah.
What is your thought with that?
Yeah, I feel the same way. I think there's, I do get into random like conspiracy theories about death and things, and I read about, I find philosophy fascinating.
Yeah.
It's so over my head, but I honestly love like thinking about these like topics that, are not answerable questions, but it does give me anxiety too, because you only have the one life. And so, at least for now, and, I like the idea of being like reincarnated into something else. Or, there's another idea, I forgot what it's called, that is, you can cut this out, but there's another idea that you can, that everybody on this earth is the same. It's such a crazy thought, but like you're basically not reincarnated, but like you are all these different versions of each other, and we're all in different levels of like knowing and learning. And so it's kind of like the idea of reincarnation, but everybody is each other.
Oh my gosh, I love that. That's crazy, but I love these conversations because I love just like my mind to be boggled. Like
well, yeah, I know. That's how and then I do a very poor job of explaining different things. Like it's all in my head, and I'll read about it, and then I'll be like, woof, I don't know how to explain.
No more crazy than a lot of things we believe in traditional religions. It really, I have no judgment of anyone's beliefs, because unless someone's being harmed, that's obviously different. But because we believe in the Holy Ghost, like that sounds pretty crazy to people. There's many things that are within our own religion that are far-fetched sounding. But I love that. That is like, these are my favorite kind of conversations. And honestly, maybe we just need to start another podcast of like conspiracy spirituality, because it is like mind-blowing. I saw a woman, this is just so off topic, but I feel like I have to say it now, but we were in the airport and there was this older woman, and she kind of looked like me, and I passed her very quickly, and I thought, what if that was me older? Like run up to her, hey, it's us. It's us. But that's my brain too. I have those weird thoughts. Yep. But who knows? Right? Who really knows? And
yeah, I'm sorry. I was just gonna say, I've been talking to people a lot about like the fact that we're all just reliving the same life over and over. I mean, really, like not as a conspiracy type of thought, but like Todd and I were we were talking to Spencer, my 16-year-old. He got his patriarchal blessing, and we were talking to the patriarch and his wife, and they were saying like, yeah, we bought this house 50 years ago and we built it, and then we lived here, and then he was a teacher, and like it was so, everything they were saying was so similar to our life. And Todd's like, we're all just living the same life. And he said that to the patriarch. He's like, we were all just kind of living the same life over and over again. And he's like, it's so true. Like we are kind of, and
parallel universe.
Yeah, we're interviewing a gentleman, cannot think of his name right now, but Paradox. Anyway, he has an Instagram account, and I went to school with his brother, and we're interviewing him later. And he posted, he's in Italy right now, and he does Italy tours, like religious tours in Europe. And he found a picture of an art picture in a museum of a guy that looks just like Joseph Smith. And it's showing him, he has like a halo around his head, and he posted the story about it. And it's this guy that lived when Joseph Smith lived. He died like a year before Joseph Smith died, and he had a leg that needed to be amputated, and he had it amputated without any medication because he was really tough, and he had God on his side, and like all of these things that were like, I'm like,
is this
parallel.
Italian Joseph Smith?
Yeah, there's an Italian Joseph Smith apparently.
What?
So I feel like
crazy.
it's like the theme of my life this week.
Mhm.
I feel like there's always like little themes of things that I notice, and right now the theme of my life is like our stories we're just kind of reliving the same thing over and over, and what are we going to do with ours,
Mhm.
and it just kind of makes me like, we're so sometimes consumed and worried about what other people might think of us. But
Mhm.
if this is our only life, even if it's not, even if there is a life beyond this, like, let's just live this life the way we want to live it and the way that we feel best about, that fits us and gives us a path that creates like peace and joy and love,
Mhm.
and
Yes.
and be satisfied with that.
Mhm.
But Cheryl, you were going to say something. I'm sorry.
No, that's exactly right. You really nailed it on the head. That's the whole way I live my life. It's that way. That's like, yeah, you nailed it.
I
So
love it.
I also
think
gather
that's-
that
yeah.
you almost find comfort in the mystery of it all, and
Yes.
I can
the
relate to
absurd,
that.
I love the word absurd.
Yeah,
It's my favorite word now. It is so absurd. Life is so
Yeah.
absurd. The fact that we're here in this universe on this little rock of a planet that is ever expanding. The universe is ever expanding, truly. I mean, science-wise. So, like, the fact that we're just existing is truly absurd, and and we get to choose what we're doing too. Like, we get to have choices galore. It's just crazy. I don't know.
Oh, I love
It's
it. Absurd. That's what we're gonna name this episode.
absurd. This is a
Absurd.
very absurd episode.
Absurd.
I love
Absurd
it.
Cheryl. Absurd.
Absurd.
What's-
Pirate
Cheryl.
Cheryl. We've done it. I mean, that's an attention grabber. If you see that on the shelf.
Absurd pirate Cheryl.
Yeah. I'll have my
He'll be like,
iPad.
what is this?
You'd be the hottest
I'm
pirate
doing it.
ever.
I'm doing it in the notes.
Oh, my friends and I always say that people look better pirated up.
Oh,
Like in Pirates of the
100%.
Caribbean. Like, what's his name? Norrington.
Jack Sparrow.
Well, Jack Sparrow, of course. But even like Commodore Norrington, that's who it is. I'm like, they made him hot. Throw some dirt on him? What do you know?
Yeah, I feel like Johnny Depp is the
true.
hottest he's ever been in Pirates of the Caribbean.
100%. He like embraced it after too. He just like became
Yeah.
Jack Sparrow. He's like,
He-
this is
that's
it.
who he is. That's who he is in his own soul.
And we're all Jack Sparrow.
That's right.
All combined.
we're all Jack
all
Sparrow.
We're all Jack Sparrow.
That's it.
We're all a version of him.
Yay! My life
And he's
stream.
a version of us.
I love this. This might be our best episode yet. It really is.
So good.
It's so good.
I really am. You can literally cut out
No.
every single.
Nope.
You can just cut this whole
Absolutely
thing.
not.
And you know how I said you could tell us we could take stuff out? I negate that. Never mind.
Yeah.
No.
It's signed. It's signed. We got
It's,
it in
you
writing.
signed the paper. You signed the release form.
Yep.
It's all in there.
You get to do what you will. All right.
Oh my gosh.
just kidding. If
Okay.
there is
on
something
this
you want,
on
you
this
can.
silly Oh, sorry, Emmy.
Go
I
ahead.
didn't hear you.
Go ahead. Can
I
you
didn't
hear
hear
me?
you talking at the end there. Go ahead. Finish up.
That's all. I was done.
I'm so sorry. It's like when we
That's
all
so
talk at the same
weird.
time too. You really go into the nothingness.
I gotta have Todd fix this. I think it's on your end, maybe though.
Maybe.
I don't know.
Maybe it is, but I
Okay,
don't know.
go ahead.
Okay, on that silly note, this is our last question. This is our fun little random question that we like to end with. And you can pick between these two. You can either share an You can either share an embarrassing story, or you can answer this question. If your life had a theme song, what would it be? It's a good one.
Okay, this was the hardest question out of every single question that you guys asked. This was the hardest one.
Save it for the end.
I honestly, I'm thinking, what is an embarrassing story that I have? And I don't get, I mean, I get embarrassed. My life is just embarrassing, truly. But like, I am the cringiest person of all time. But I don't
Whatever.
like get embarrassed in a way where it's like people are like, you really should be embarrassed of that. Well, I don't,
But I'm not.
but I'm not.
That's
She embrace
But
it.
there is,
I love it.
I don't know if this is appropriate. So maybe I shouldn't tell this embarrassing story, but
Do it.
Tell it.
me and my husband were babysitting Aaron's cousins' children who are teenagers. And anyway, he was staying with them at the house. And you can totally cut this out, by the way. Actually, you know what? Maybe I shouldn't say this.
No, do it. Do it. I think
And then
I've
if
heard
you
it. Now
decide
I'm
to
trying
cut
to
it later,
remember.
tell us.
Yeah, if you decide you want us to, tell us. But
I mean, I don't care. It's anyway, my husband was staying at their house, and I had left for the night because I had to go back home with my baby. And right after I left, he had sent me a naughty text, not like crazy naughty, but like a little naughty.
Yeah.
And it was actually to the group chat with all of the children in that he was babysitting, all of the teenagers.
No.
So then he immediately sent like
Oh,
letters,
no.
letters. So like the text would go up.
Yes.
And then like he screamed through the house, "Don't read that text."
Oh.
That's amazing.
And
Love
one of them
it.
was on the phone with their parent. And so when that all happened,
They knew.
Like,
Oh no.
let alone, and just to say,
There's no hiding
they
it.
never asked us to babysit again.
Oh, come on. It's good for teens, you know?
But it was
Gosh.
that was probably my most embarrassing moment because
So
and it wasn't even mine.
Yeah, I
it
was
my
going to say,
husband's,
that's
but
like
still,
secondhand embarrassment.
it's
Yeah.
secondhand
Yeah.
embarrassment, but still, I mean,
So-
partly me.
you were kind
so.
of part of it. Yeah. Yeah.
I love that
It
it's
was
the group
to
thread
you.
to everybody.
That is so
Yes.
funny.
That is
Oh
the
my
best.
gosh.
Oh my
Yeah.
gosh.
I
Oh,
love
and then
it.
my song. Okay, we'll
Oh,
say
yeah.
a song too.
Yes.
My very favorite song that I live my life.
First
Can I
aid
pull-
kit, I'm guessing.
Well, I do love First Aid Kit, but
It's okay.
but the song that I love and really encapsulates my energy. You can go ahead and listen to this after, but
I'm excited.
it's called Creator by Santigold.
Ooh, I don't know this song.
It's a pretty absurd song for
Yes.
sure. So, but you should listen to it. It's called Creator by Santigold. So
Okay,
it's
very
not
excited.
it's not even necessarily the words or anything. It's just the vibe of the whole thing. I'm like, this is definitely my vibe.
It's biscuit top.
So
I
I
it's
like
biscuit.
it. I'm excited to hear her energy, you know?
Yes.
Yeah, my energy. Yes, it's
Cheryl
Creator.
energy in a
song.
song. Ooh, I'm gonna go download it right now.
Okay,
Yeah.
yes, and then you can laugh at me when you listen to it. So,
So excited.
fun. Thank you for joining us on this thoughtful journey with Cheryl Stout. We hope her insights on spirituality, personal empowerment, and creating your own path resonated with you as much as it did with us. If you enjoyed this episode, please be sure to follow That's Church wherever you listen to podcasts, and please give us a review on Apple Podcasts. It helps a lot. Connect with us on Instagram at That's Church Podcast. And until next time, keep exploring, keep questioning, and remember, you have the power to create meaning in your own life.